What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Bucky with you. Buck, what is going on, man? How was your weekend?
Man, it's been a good weekend, DJ. We're here. Training camps are opening up all over the league. We're seeing highlights and clips and getting excited. You can almost smell the grass as everything kicks off for the NFL.
Yeah, I just did a quick, short little trip to Alaska. So got cooled off a little bit, which is like my annual little trip to then remind me that we are here. It's football season. We've got training camps kicked off. We have ITC Live, which will kick off with back to football Saturday. Correct, it is Saturday, right, Buck? So you are going to be at Rams, I believe.
No, this Saturday I'm gonna be down in Jacksonville.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So I'm in Jacksonville on Saturday, Miami on Sunday before making my way back and doing a West Coast swing.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I'll be out there. They'll have me. I think I'm with. I want to say I'm with Ian with Rap Sheet out there at Chargers for that first day, and then with having 5 teams out here, Southern California for training camp. I don't have to get on an airplane, man. It's the first time since I've worked at NFL Network where I do not have to get on an airplane to go to a training camp. We've got the Saints here, the Raiders here, as well as the Cowboys, Chargers, and Rams. So there's enough to keep us busy here just locally for once.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say that we should issue a rule that they should make that mandatory each year to have at least 5 teams here, so that it minimizes the travel, makes everything very easy and convenient for those who like to cover it.
Yeah, I like the idea of just kind of the baseball model of we can have like an Arizona league and a Florida league. If we want to have a Southern California league, and then I don't know, Florida's pretty hot in the summer. Maybe it's somewhere up in the Northeast, or maybe as a compromise, the Midwest has got some pretty spots. So then we just kind of centralize it. Then you can go, you're a football fan, you can pop around and see all these different teams. Be a little more efficient with your time. That's my proposal, Buck.
Yeah, I love it. It's almost like the old days of the Cheese League when everyone would go to Wisconsin in that area. They would play 5 teams. They would kind of do their deal. So ton of fun.
Yeah, no doubt. We are going to get back into our championship foundation discussion. If you missed the NFC episodes, we knocked those out last week. A couple different episodes. We split it in half with the conference, and we go through and we look at the core foundation pieces for all of these teams, it's a healthy exercise because we see how research has stacked it. We make some adjustments to that list. Then when the episode comes out, we actually had some listeners that are dialed in, and there might be an omission here or there. So we had a couple of instances where we got some good feedback there, and I was like, you know what, that's absolutely correct. Let's make a little switch on that. So it's been pretty fun. Just kind of, it's like group work here, a group project as we kind of put together these championship foundations.
You know what's funny about this, DJ, when we talk about blue chip players and those things, like there's so many people that really take issue with when we talk about these are the best rosters based on the number of blue chippers that they have, et cetera, et cetera. And you have to just understand there are different ways to build a team. But the one thing we know, the teams that typically win and go far in the playoffs are the teams that have more of the good players, and they put them in the right thing. And so when we talk about blue players, we talk about the best of the best and how you sequence them. And as we talk about the future, you want guys that are ascending into that blue category. Yes, you're going to have some guys that kind of fall out of that category. But if you're building a team where everyone is growing and moving towards that blue, you have a chance to keep your championship window open a little longer than some of the other teams.
No doubt. I think that's what's cool looking at it, and the colors really make that pop. You can see a team that maybe is right on the cusp. They've got a lot of green players, and you think, okay, man, some of these green players can make that leap, get into that blue category. Now this team can maybe go to the next level here. So, I found that, pretty interesting when you put this whole thing together. All right, Buck, you ready to jump in here with the AFC East?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. AFC East, we are going to start with the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, obviously a blue. Josh is 28 years old now. So you've got the blue quarterback. Then you've got 2 greens that I think have blue potential when you're looking at these playmakers. Let's start with, you have to have 3 of those guys on that list. So greens, and we should do the definitions. I'll have Nabil put the definitions in the chat again here so we can explain that properly. But you've got two greens here with James Cook, Dalton Kincaid. You get a purple, which is basically for a rookie and has unproven player with Keon Coleman. Offensive line-wise, you've got, we take the 3 top offensive linemen that are building block pieces. Deion Dawkins is a green. Spencer Brown is a green. He's a really good player. Osiris Torrance is a pink. Still, again, that's a young player. Then you've got Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau as your 2 pass rushers as greens. And then you look at the playmakers, which we take from the linebacker and the secondary position. You get yellows with Matt Milano coming off injury, would be a yellow. You get Terrence Johnson, who's one of the best nickels in the league, is a green. And then you get the two young guys there. You could pick between Terrell Bernard and Christian Benford, two good young players, but still kind of on the rise, on the come up there.
Yeah. So what's interesting about the Buffalo Bills is they've been a team that has been at the top of the charts for a while. They've been dominating the division the last few years. But then you look, they're kind of a team that you have just a big question mark behind. You lose Stephon Diggs and you just wonder offensively, will they be able to do it? But you see a lot of green players. And so if things break right, this Buffalo Bills team can be exactly where they've been the last couple of years, division round or better, and a team that's vying for a championship. If they don't break right, then they're going to fall back to the pack. But they have a lot of intriguing pieces. You talked about James Cook and Dalton Kincaid. You think about what they have on defense, Ed Oliver, Gregory Rousseau, guys that are emerging players who certainly have the ability to be disruptive. It's just a matter of how well they play. So this is on Sean McDermott and the staff. If he gets this team up and rolling, we'll continue to talk about the Buffalo Bills like we've had the last few years.
Yep. And to reiterate again, blue is blue chip players. You're talking about top 5, top 10 player at his position in the league, that type of talent. Green is a functional, solid starter. So not someone you're looking to replace, just a very dependable, solid player. Yellow is signifying there's some issue with either age, injury, or there's a contract concern. So it could be somebody maybe in the last year of his deal. It could be somebody that's on the wrong side of 30, but you're not going to, give them a blue or a green because we're talking about foundation pieces, right? So you're building from this point. It's not where you are right now. We're kind of projecting out into the future of what this foundation is going to look like. Purple is for an unproven young player. Pink is for an unproven young player. Purple is a lot of the rookies are in this category. Unproven young player, but has blue chip potential. So really, pink and purple, almost the same thing there when you're looking at those two colors. But hopefully that clears that up for you as we go through it. All right, let's get to the Miami Dolphins here, Buck. Tua is a green at 26 years old. Tyreek Hill, obviously a blue. He is 30. Jalen Waddle is a green with he might be a little blue, a tint of blue there, but he's green. Then you get your running backs is really a great combination. We're only going to use one of them here, but you've got HN, you've got Mostert. They're greens on here. Again, both of them really, really good players. Austin Jackson's a green, just got paid on the offensive line. Armstead, I think more so for age, 33 is a yellow. You get Aaron Brewer as a green along the offensive line. Then for the pass rushers, you've got Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb both coming off injuries. So those guys are both yellows. We have Chop Robinson as a purple. So you got to pick two of those three there. Obviously, the rookie and Chop Robinson's going to be relied on. And then you get to the strength here, Buck. You get to the secondary. Javon Holland's a blue at 24 years old. Jalen Ramsey's still playing well at 29. He's a blue. And then you get your choice between David Long Jr. or Kendall Fuller. Either one of those guys would be a yellow. So you get three true blues here with the Dolphins.
Yeah, three true blues. And you can make the argument, because you talked about Jalen Waddle being on the cusp. You could talk about HN and Mostert being in that category because you just don't know how the running back position is going to break. And even Tua, because a lot of times Tua is a conditional blue based on the people around him. But when you think about the last 2 years, where he is ranked when it comes to passing efficiency, numbers, all that, he deserves to be in that conversation. So this is a really good team. But what you see is very top heavy in terms of like all of the talent is more skewed towards the offense. And then you're hoping that the defense can come up to snuff. You talk about Jalen Ramsey, Javon Holland, but really this team will go as their pass rushers go. And with the injury concerns around Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, you just don't know how good this Dolphins team is going to be.
Yeah, no. And I think that the interesting thing about going back to Tua is you have a green, like a borderline green blue player, right? So we have him as a green. Some could argue for production wise, him being in the blue category. But that's where the dilemma comes. Why isn't that contract done? Well, because it's easier to do deals when you're defined as a true blue player. You know what I mean? And I think at least with Tua, some pros, some cons, some see it as blue, some don't. That's where you see maybe a little bit potential for a messy negotiation there, Buck.
Yeah, very messy because you're trying to figure out like how much is on him and his own talent. And all quarterbacks are supported. They all kind of depend on the cast around them. But how much, when you just try and pull Tua out of that equation, how much is him and how much is a detract team around him? That makes it very, very hard when you're trying to affix a value on him God, like, can we exist without him? Can we exist with him? Like, how much credit does he deserve for the way the offense operates? It's really difficult. And we know how quarterbacks are evaluated. Like, we give them a ton of the credit, but also a ton of the blame when things don't go right.
So if we're talking about championship foundations, and we will get to the we're going to get to the AFC North here in just a moment as well. But if we're just looking at it from this division, the AFC East, this next team, again, this is a foundation piece. It's not the entirety of your roster, but the foundation pieces, especially when you have talent that's young. This is the one that stacks up as the best in that division, Buck. It's the New York Jets. And that's what it's true. I mean, it's interesting when you look at these things, and we're looking at a spreadsheet just to give you a visual here. So we can see the entire AFC. We see all the colors in a spreadsheet by division. This one draws your eyes because you've got Aaron Rodgers as a yellow, obviously coming off of injuries, 40 years old. So we're talking about foundation pieces. I don't know how much more there is there, but then let's get to these next ones here. Garrett Wilson is a 24-year-old blue receiver. And again, we pick 3 offensive weapons. So you get Garrett Wilson is a 24-year-old blue. Breece Hall is a 23-year-old blue. Then you have Mike Williams, who's a yellow coming off injury at 29. So then we get to the offensive lineman. Elijah Vera Tucker is a green. To me, I would then, if you're talking about championship foundations, I would not count Tyron Smith or Morgan Moses as part of your championship foundation for the future. But you do have 2 high pick players, a second-year player in Joe Tippmann, who I think has blue potential. He's a purple right now. Olu Fashanu, the rookie first rounder this year, is only 21 years old. He's got a chance to grow and develop into a really good player. So just look at offensively here. Garrett Wilson, 24. Breece Hall, 23. Elijah Vera Tucker, 25. Joe Tippmann, 23. Olu Fashanu, 21. That's just the offense, Buck. That is a lot of young talent.
Yeah, a lot of young talent. And, the thing about the Jets, they have gotten a lot of attention, and they've kind of become like a lightning rod of criticism just based on how much was really dependent upon Aaron Rodgers to get this team over the hump. If you remove Aaron Rodgers and you just look at the foundation of the team is good enough to compete at a high level. Now it's about, can they get Aaron Rodgers and I will say Aaron Rodgers doesn't even have to play at MVP level. They don't even need 4-time MVP Aaron Rodgers. They just need solid quarterback play where they eliminate the mistakes and they just allow the rest of the pieces of the puzzle to get the job done. This is a really good team. Now they're dependent on some older players in some key spots, like Mike Williams is nearing 30, Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses. We talked to the offensive line. Yeah, those guys are older, but the core that they have is certainly championship caliber. And a lot of people think that we're just blowing smoke when we talk about the Jets so much, but they have a very talented roster. They just have to play up to their level of potential.
And I would phrase it this way, and we'll get to their defense in a second, which there's more blues there. The Jets' success is really dependent on 2 things, right? It's the blues and the bridges. So they've got the blues, the talented young blue chip players, but then they've got some bridge players. We always just talk about bridge quarterbacks. You can be a bridge at another position. Like they've got bridge tackles. They've got 2 33-year-old tackles. They need those guys to be a bridge by some time. Olu Fashanu is going to man one of those spots here in the very near future. But they need the bridges to hold it. We can't have the bridge collapse, Buck. We got to have the bridges be solid, and then the bridges and the blues together is what's going to help the Jets win games.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I love the way you phrase it because it is the blues and the bridges. And most teams should have bridges in place to help their young guys kind of acclimate to the league and acclimate to those prominent roles. The Jets have that. But the most critical piece to their puzzle is the quarterback.
Yep.
And you would like to think that Aaron Rodgers can come back and he's going to be all the wonderful things that Aaron Rodgers has been as a player. But if he doesn't play at that level, my challenge would be to Robert Saleh and these other guys to make sure, what's our contingency plan? If Aaron Rodgers is not what we think that he can be, how are we going to win games? And to me, that's what coaching does. The front office is supposed to stockpile the talent, put all that. But now it's on Robert Saleh and his staff to start working on the contingencies. Here's plan A, Aaron Rodgers plays great. Here's plan B. He's not quite what we thought he was, but we can find a way to win. And how is that? Complementary football or any of those other things? Because the excuses are off. they have to find a way to win with the roster as presently constructed, and they have to be able to do it whether Aaron Rodgers is playing at an A level or if he's playing at a C level. They still got to win games.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we talk about blues and bridges. They need the quarterback could be both, right? He could be playing it, hopefully playing at a blue level, but still is not the long-term answer there. But I mean, let's get to the defense first here, because we haven't even got to this side of the ball, because there's more talent there. We get to the defensive side. Quinnen Williams is a blue. He is still only 26 years old. Then you've got the combination. Again, we only can do 2 pass rushers, so Quinnen's going to get one of those spots. You've got Johnson. You've got Jermaine Johnson at 25 years old, coming off a really good breakout year last year, and Hassan Reddick, who they just got from the Eagles, who's been one of the more consistent pass rushers in the league. We have both those guys as greens. You could make an argument, Hassan Reddick, especially what he's done in the league, you could label him a blue. But we have both those guys. You got to pick one of them, but that's a green there. Sauce Gardner, 24-year-old blue, is one of the, arguably the top corner, one of the top 2 or 3 corners, however you want to stack it out at 24 years old. Quincy Williams coming off, truthfully, a blue year, but we have him as a green here at the linebacker position. And then you have DJ Reed at 27 years old. I think he's a yellow because of contract. I think he's going to the last year of his deal. But that's not even mentioning CJ Mosley, who's still a really, really good player, but on the wrong side of 30. So let's summarize it here. Garrett Wilson, 24. Breece Hall, 23. Quinnen Williams, 26. Sauce Gardner, 24. Those are irrefutable blues. There's conversations to be had about some of the other guys, but that is a great core of young, talented players.
Yeah, great core. And if you can keep all those things together, not only this year, but going forward, this team should be in the conversation for a long time. And I think a lot of people are kind of the mindset that this is a boom or bust year for them, that if they don't go to the Super Bowl, they have to blow everything up. And that's not necessarily the case. This is a team that has exactly what you're looking for in terms of the capability to win now, but also the ability to win forever. And so it's just a matter of putting it together and making sure that the quarterback plays right. But getting these other guys, those bridges, to make sure that they play well enough that you don't have to put the other guys in those prominent roles before they're ready.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Patriots here in a second. Just to kind of wrap up, and we went a little longer on them, but I thought they were an interesting team. A good way to look at this, and we've talked about this test before, if you want to know kind of like what the state of your team is or the talent level of your team, go to a game and see how many different jerseys you see in the stands. Like, is everybody wearing the same jersey? And now keep in mind, when I was in Cleveland, people were wearing jerseys of players who no longer played for the team. You'd see people in Jim Brown jerseys more than you would see anybody that was currently on the roster. So I think that's an interesting litmus test. And if you're a young family, you're bringing your kids to a Jets game, you got a lot of options of what jerseys you want to put your kids in, Buck.
Yeah, you have a lot of options. And look, the linchpin is the quarterback, and they have to eventually think about who's going to be the next one. But right now, the top priority is to make sure that they can get the quarterback to the regular season healthy and playing well, because if he's playing well, this team is going to be very, very difficult to beat.
All right, let's get to the Patriots coming off a 4-13 year. Drake May is a purple. Obviously, he's a young player with a lot of talent, but hasn't done anything yet, getting a chance to get out there. I think he'll start. We'll see how long before he takes over that job at 22 years old. Ramondre Stevenson is a green at 26. Hunter Henry's a green at 29. And then you've got the young guys here with Demario Douglas, showed some flashes last year. 23 years old, can really run. And get Jalen Polk, who I've heard great things about early on there, the rookie. Both those guys labeled as pinks right now, so you got to pick one of those two. You've got the offensive lineman. You got to pick 3 here. You've got Owenu as a 26-year-old green. David Andrews is a 32-year-old yellow. And then you've got Cole Strange as a pink. So a young player that's still, on the come up here, a high pick and hopeful there for the future. Christian Barmore, I'm going to label him as a blue. He's a green on here, but I think he's a blue player. You've got your choice between Judon or Uche as yellows. And then you get to the 3 playmakers at the linebacker position, the secondary position. Kyle Duggar's a green, really solid player. Christian Gonzalez is a purple, and I agree, if purple signifying blue potential, he's going to be a blue if he stays healthy, in my opinion. And then you've got your choice between Juwan Bentley or Jabril Peppers, a couple yellows there. So really only one true blue, coming on the heels of what we just talked about with the Jets. Not as much high-end talent there in New England right now.
Yeah, not as much high-end talent, but I would say the cupboard isn't completely bare. I would say that for the Jets, tactics and strategy are everything when it comes to them winning games this season. Particularly if you're playing with a young quarterback, it's going to be the way that Gerard Mayo sets up the game for his team to win. Meaning, how do the three phases work together to complement one another? How does the offense work with the defense and the special teams to put this team in a position to win in the fourth quarter? When I look at the players you talk about, Christian Gonzalez, man, he was off to a great start.
Yes.
He is one of the special players that they have. And then the other players, I would say, I'm high at Christian Barmore being a solid player at the point of attack. Those things are good because we talk about our foundational pieces. Offensively, it's going to come down to how quickly can they get Drake May up to speed. Yeah, Jacoby Brissett to start and do all those other things, but how quickly can they get Drake May ready to play and ready to play at winning football? Because the pieces around him are solid, not great, solid, but he is going to have to play at a higher level to win with what he currently has around him.
Here's my question, and this is the challenge for the New England Patriots. You're putting together, Buck. You're back. Let's go back to the scouting days. You're on the pro scouting side. You're putting the advance report together. You're getting ready to play the New England Patriots. You got to present the roster in front of the defensive coordinator, and you go, Coach, we have to stop X. It all begins with X, and X is who's going to keep you up at night. They don't have one.
No, they don't. The best offensive player that they have is Ramondre Stevenson, and he's a really good player, but he's not, I would say, an upper echelon blue player, a guy that you really
he doesn't change your game plan. I mean,
not at all. Like you're aware of him. You make note of where he is and that stuff, but they don't have like that game changer. And I mean, you can win games with a bunch of solid players, but man, the margin for error is tiny because you don't have the one guy that can either erase a mistake or create the explosive that tilts the game in your favor. That's the problem that you have with the Patriots. You just don't have that star player that can really take over the game.
Yeah, true difference makers. That's going to be the challenge. And maybe one of these guys emerges as that guy. If not, it's something that's got to be on the to-do list as we get to the following off season. All right, the top 100 is back. Find out who the players voted as the best player in the NFL. Head to NFL Plus starting July 22nd for exclusive daily drops to find out who took home the trophy. Go to plus.nfl.com to sign up today. As we're recording this, it is July 22nd. So you can go check out that content right away. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we have finished up the AFC East. We're going to transition over to the AFC North, where one team has more Blues than any other team in the entire conference. So we'll get to that team right after this. All right, Buck. Next up, this is not a don't check to see if something went wrong on your computer here. And for those that know, obviously I work for the Baltimore Ravens, but this was not my doing here of how these colors came out, but I'm not going to quibble with them as we go through it here. This is the team that has the most Blues as we're staring at it right now. Kansas City, I think, is right there with them. But let's go through Baltimore. Lamar Jackson, 27-year-old Blue. Derrick Henry is a 30-year-old Blue. Mark Andrews is a 28-year-old Blue. Zay Flowers is a green at 23 years old. Tyler Linderbaum is a 24-year-old Blue. Ronnie Stanley is a 30-year-old yellow, the tackle. And then they've got another offensive lineman. You got Roger Rosengarten, who's a pink as a rookie, coming in there. Then you get to the defensive side. Matt Abike, only 26 years old. He's a Blue as one of your pass rushers. You got Adafe Owe is a pink. He's only 25. Then you get to the back three. You got Kyle Hamilton's a 23-year-old Blue. Roquan Smith still only 27, a 27-year-old Blue. And then you've got your choice between either Humphrey or Williams, the corner and the safety there, respectively, as green. So you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pure Blues. And I don't know that any of those are stretches either.
No stretches. And it's one of the reasons why we always expect this team to be in the Final Four. And whether they get to it or not, sometimes the game day execution doesn't go the way that you want it to. But this team is assembled the right way. All the pieces of the puzzle fit, and the pieces match the tactics and the scheme that they employ. This is a really good team. This is a team that is going to be a very, very difficult challenge for teams to deal with their physicality, toughness, and their overall talent. Now you have some changes, coaching staff. You have Zach Orr taking over McDonald. So how does he change and put his own imprint on the defense? But man, offense, defense, special teams, they have everything because DJ, you could put Justin Tucker in there and give him a blue label for what he's able to do in the kicking game. Like they have a lot of talent, which is why I don't want to say a Super Bowl or bust, but the expectation is this team should be one of the last 2 to 4 teams standing.
Yeah, no doubt. Good point on special teams, by the way, because for this exercise championship foundation, it is just a quarterback, 3 offensive playmakers, 3 quality offensive linemen, 2 pass rushers, 3 defensive playmakers in the back 7. So if you're sitting there listening to this going, oh, our kicker, our punter, our returner, well, that's not what this, not what this exercise is. But man, a lot of blues there for the Baltimore Ravens. Let's get to the Cleveland Browns up next here, coming off an 11-6 wild card campaign. Deshaun Watson coming off injuries, a yellow as a 28-year-old. Amari Cooper is a rock-solid green at 30. Njoku listed as a green here at 28 years old. Obviously, they bring over Jerry Jeudy as well, but I would say Njoku would be their next best weapon. Offensive playmakers, Nick Chubb coming off injury is a yellow. You look at the 3 offensive linemen, Conklin and Bitonio, both yellows, both good players, both on the other side of 30. You've got Wyatt Teller at 29 as a green, a really solid green. And then you've got Jedrick Wills at 25 or DeJuan Jones at 23. Both those guys missed some time. They are young guys, so they're yellows. Then you go to the defense. Obviously, Myles Garrett is a blue at 28. Za'Darius Smith is a green at 31. Denzel Ward is a blue at 27, the corner. Owusu Koromoa is a rock-solid green. And then you've got either Newsome or Thornhill. Either one of those guys would be greens. So you see those two, the 2 that jump off the page there, obviously with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. Those are the 2 building block pieces that they have on the defensive side.
Yeah, 2 building block pieces that they have on the defense side. And look, I don't know if you are a card player, but in college we used to play spades, and so in the spades game, spades, yeah. So like you counting your books, and you got the books that are certains, and then you got your possibles. This team has a lot of possibles in terms of the blues, because look, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was expected to be a blue player when the Cleveland Browns traded for him. He has not played to that level. There has to be an expectation in the building that he's going to play at that level, regardless of the injury in the shoulder. Because if he plays at a blue level, then that helps David Njoku play at a blue level. It helps Amari Cooper go to a blue level. It changes everything. And if they lighten the box, that means Nick Chubb comes back and he becomes a blue. So a lot of what we talk about when it comes to the Browns hinges on Deshaun Watson. If he plays well, this team has the potential to be one of the teams that we talk about as a heavyweight contender in the AFC. If he doesn't, this team can be a pretender. A lot of it, and more pressure than anybody in the National Football League, falls on Deshaun Watson. He has to play at the level of expectation. When they got him from the Houston Texans, he was supposed to tilt the game in their favor. He has not done that, so it's on him to get it done.
To me, the key too, if you look at Jedrick Wills and DeJuan Jones, those guys both at 25 and 23 years old are very gifted, very talented. When DeJuan Jones was out there last year, he looked like he should have been a top 10 pick in the draft the way that he played. So that is kind of a key part to that offense, and I think that would help Deshaun Watson get those guys healthy, get those guys playing well, and then those turn into true building blocks when you look at their age and talent. I think that's something fascinating. By the way, playing spades, used to play it all the time in college, and then out of college, I played with my who is now my brother-in-law. And Buck, not proud of this moment and the way we handled ourselves, but he would put double-sided tape. He put it on his shoe, and then we'd be sitting across from each other. And then if I was going to kneel, meaning I can't, for those that haven't played spades, like you can't win a hand, and I was in big trouble, I kind of gave him the signal like I'm in some trouble. So he would stick a card to his foot underneath a wooden table that you couldn't see, and then I'd feel something nudge me. I would grab that card off of his foot, take the card I needed to get rid of, stick it back to his foot. He'd pull his foot back in, and smooth sailing, man. I'm not proud of it. I said I wasn't proud of it. I was young. We all make mistakes when you're young.
Win at all costs. DJ, win at all costs. Win at all costs. Just make sure, do whatever you got to do to get the dub on the day.
Yeah, character flaw. All right, let's get to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback, 35-year-old yellow. George Pickens is a green at 23. Again, blue potential, but a green there. Freiermuth is a yellow at 26 years old. I'm guessing that's either contract or injury related there. And then you've got the other playmaker spot between Najee and Jalen Warren. Again, contract related there. They're yellows. You get to the quality offensive lineman. Samalo is a rock solid green. Then you get the two young guys that are purples with Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu. Both those guys have blue potential, 23-year-old guys. So that could be their bookends for a long time. It looks like, I believe Broderick Jones is going to play on the left and Fautanu is going to play on the right. But again, those guys, two 23-year-old tackles with a lot of ability, that their growth will determine a lot with this team. Then you get to the pass rushers. TJ Watt, obviously a blue all day long, 29 years old. Even though he's coming off injury, I think we just disregard that. Just keep him as the blue. Alex Highsmith is a green at 27. Then you go to the back end. Aminka is a blue at 27. Patrick Queen is a really solid green that they brought over from the Ravens at 25 years old. Joey Porter with purple with a chance to develop into a blue. He's 24 years old. So when I look at this team and take it all in there, looking at this foundation, Buck, to me, the development of the young guys, Broderick Jones and Fautanu at tackles, and then I would say Joey Porter Jr. taking that next step at corner. Those guys have blue potential. So the sooner those guys develop and become those blue players, the sooner you're going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they've done a really good job of being competitive without those guys playing at the blue level yet. Offensively, we have George Pickens, who's a guy that is on the cusp. You can talk about Freiermuth and Najee Harris or Jalen Warren offensively being able to make plays and kind of inch closer to that category. But to me, their offense will go as this offensive line goes. We have two guys in purple, Broderick Jones and Troy Fautanu, who could be blue players. And then you think about Isaac Samalo being able to kind of really get into that conversation. If they're able to dominate up front, it matters less what they have on the perimeter in terms of blue players, because they can dominate in the trenches. They can play the style that they want to play, where they run the ball, they're physical, they're controlling the clock, and then they're setting their defense up for great situations. If the Steelers do that, they certainly can be one of those teams that we talk about being a hard out when it comes to the postseason.
And the player who's not on here, Keanu Benton, I think has got a chance to be a perennial Pro Bowler as a defensive tackle. But the way we have this here is with pass rushers. So Alex Highsmith, with what he's accomplished, still only 27 years old, he got that slot. But I think Keanu Benton is a championship level player. He's got blue potential there, so he could end up really making a difference for that team as well. Last team here in the North, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Burrow at 27 is a blue. Jamar Chase is a blue at 24 years old. T. Higgins a yellow because of contract, but he's 25 years old. So if they were able to get him extended and get that deal done into the future, obviously that flips to a blue player there. Then you've got Zach Moss is a green at 26. So those are your offensive playmakers, the three quality offensive line. You've got greens here: Orlando Brown, Alex Kappa, and Ted Karras, 28, 29, 31-year-old greens. Pass rushers, Hendrickson's a blue at 29. And then the other spot, you've got Hubbard at 29 or Sheldon Rankins at 30. You're looking at green players for either one of those guys. The linebacker position, you pull out Logan Wilson as a green. Borderline blue there. Jermaine Pratt's a green as well, so you could pick there. And then the other playmaker spot, you've got Geno Stone and Cam Taylor-Britt greens. So, man, there's a lot of choices for green players there on the defensive side. And then you've got the young players there with Dax Hill and DJ Turner, both as pinks. So a lot. This is a green team, Buck. There's the stars there with Burrow and Chase and Hendrickson, but then a lot of greens, which to me makes the Bengals a team with a very high floor, the way you look at this exercise.
Yeah, when you look at it, they do have a lot of really solid starters, and it's their stars that can push them over the top. When we talk about Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson, what you like about the Bengals has been their ability to draft and acquire really good players and to develop their own players and those things. Because when you look, not many free agent additions. Yeah, Orlando Brown Jr. came over, Geno Stone came over, but the majority of their team are homegrown players that they have kind of identified, developed within their system, and then re-signed them to retain their nucleus. When I look at this team and I look at the rest of the AFC North, DJ, without question, this is one of the more competitive divisions in football, and it's one of those that I think is going to be decided by a coin flip. I know we talk about the Baltimore Ravens and all the blues that they have, but every one of their division rivals has just enough ammunition to be able to knock them off. That's why it'd be very, very interesting to watch this division play out.
Yeah, I think you can make a case that they have whoever you think is the fourth place team in that division, again, this is a division last year that did not have a team with a losing record. So the depth of this division is outstanding. And I would say the fourth team in this division is going to be the best fourth team in the league. Like, it is a really, really solid division. There's no gimmies, no layups. And that's why when we look, as you referenced, the Baltimore Ravens having as many Blues as they do and having a stacked roster might not reflect itself in them having, the best record or the number one seed once we get to the postseason, just because it's a little bit of a gauntlet there, provided the quarterbacks stay healthy in that division. It's a really good division.
Yeah, really good division, very competitive division. Look, I like doing these breakdowns because it does speak to how competitive the league is, and it gives us a chance to spotlight some of the great jobs that the team builders have done across the league in terms of stacking together the rosters and make their teams as competitive as possible.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. We have knocked out the AFC East and the AFC North. If you've missed the NFC episodes, we got a couple of those. You can go back and look those up. Check out the rosters there. And then the next episode, which will be tomorrow, we will wrap it up with the AFC South and the AFC West. Again, looking at the building block pieces here, championship foundational pieces for these teams. It's a fun exercise. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as we have. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Move the Sticks.